This week on Africa Weekly, we begin in Burkina Faso in the city of Bobo-Dioulasso. Once a magnet for tourists, it's now largely overlooked by Western travellers because of the recurrent jihadist attacks. The economic impact has been brutal. The city's hotels have emptied, its heritage sites abandoned and souvenir shops closed. Then we head to the Democratic Republic of Congo, where after 3 years in the making, the country's National Museum has opened its doors in the capital of Kinshasa. But first, let's take a look at the stories that made the headlines this week. At least 58 migrants trying to reach Europe from West Africa have died as their makeshift boat capsized off the coast of Mauritania. Dozens of survivors managed to swim to the shore. This is the largest known loss of life along the West Africa smuggling route this year, and the 6th deadliest migrant drowning globally.
The Atlantic route, or the Western Mediterranean route, is becoming increasingly important. In 2015, about 5,000 arrived in Europe, while in 2018 the number was more like 60,000.
Dozens of people living in the Kenyan village of Kapsiekwa in the Elgeyo-Marakwet county have been made homeless after landslides washed away their homes and crops.
The landslide happened around 9 in the morning and caused all the crops to end up down here. So we are now all helping the owner of the farm to recover the crops he's currently missing.
Kenya has been hard hit by relentless rains, with more than 130 people killed and 17,000 people displaced. Schools, roads and health centres have been flooded, and water systems across the country have been clogged up. Meanwhile, in Uganda, people are also struggling against the effect of heavy downpours. 8 people have died and over 80,000 have been displaced by flooding and mudslides this week alone. Residents of the Bududa district in eastern Uganda assessed the damage after heavy rains caused deadly landslides and destroyed their homes. Across East Africa, months of relentless rains have submerged villages, killing at least 265 people. The extreme downpours have affected close to 2 million people and washed away tens of thousands of livestock in other countries, including Somalia, Burundi, Tanzania, South Sudan, Djibouti and Ethiopia. At least 14 people have been killed since Monday in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo in attacks blamed on a militia responsible for a series of massacres. Dozens of armed groups have troubled the DRC's wrested east for decades, despite a UN peacekeeping presence. But recent attacks have been blamed on the Allied Democratic Forces, or the ADF, the Islamist-rooted militia. More than 100 people have been killed in attacks blamed on the ADF since the 5th of November. DRC forces launched operations against the ADF in the eastern region at the end of October. But in response, the ADF has carried out massacres in an apparent bid to discourage civilians from helping the military. Residents in Khartoum hailed a move by the United States to name an ambassador to Sudan for the first time in 23 years. This comes as Sudan welcomed the country's new reformist civilian leader, Abdallah Hamdok. The US supported early steps by the PM to break with the policies and practices of the previous regime, whose ties with radical Islamists and brutal domestic campaigns had made Sudan a pariah in the West. For people in Khartoum, this is a move in the right direction.
I believe that this development is a positive step and can contribute greatly to removing Sudan from the list of state sponsors of terrorism.
The city of Bobo-Dioulasso was once a hotspot for tourism in Burkina Faso, known for its mosque, animated street life and iconic train station. Located in the west of the country, the city was a top destination for culture and architecture, and also benefited from its location on the route from Mali to the Ivory Coast. But recently, concerns over security have led to a sharp drop in the number of visitors.
Before, during the holiday periods, you would see hundreds of tourists here every day, but now we go 1 week or 2 weeks before seeing a tourist.
Jihadist attacks in the north and east of the country have caused over 600 deaths since 2015. Though Bobo-Dioulasso itself has not been targeted, the western region has seen several attacks, and an Italian-Canadian couple who disappeared in December of last year while travelling are still unaccounted for. Many Western embassies now advise against visiting large parts of the country, including Bobo-Dioulasso. And those who rely on tourism for generating income are forced to find new ways to make money.
All I do is make my fabrics. I don't really have other work, but as there are no tourists, I have no choice but to help out with masonry work to earn cash for food and medicine for me and my kids.
Many in the hospitality industry have also been struggling, like this hotel owner.
We have lost everything, to be honest. The number one priority is the staff's salaries, then the taxes. We can't even afford the taxes.
And so today, Bobo-Dioulasso is a city in limbo, with inhabitants tentatively trying new business ventures as they anxiously await peace and a return to business as usual.
Standing next to Parliament is the new pride of Kinshasa. The National Museum of the Democratic Republic of Congo, which opened its doors to the public in June, pays tribute to all Congolese civilizations, including the Luba, Pende, and Chekwe peoples. In its 3 vast halls, the museum honors the entire cultural history of the country's many ethnic groups, from prehistory to the painful period of Belgian colonization to independence.
Ce musée retrace notre histoire, montre notre identité.
This museum traces our history, shows our cultural identity, and shows the richness of the DRC's cultural diversity. The museum is a point of reference, where we find collections that are rooted in our culture and our deepest being.
Qui s'enracine à notre culture, à notre être profond.
All the objects in this room represent various stages of life. They include symbols of power, funeral masks, and links to circumcision rites, all displayed in a climate-controlled room. It's a drastic change from the warehouse that previously stood here, in the Ngaliama district of Kinshasa.
Ces autorités ont remarqué qu'il y avait des problèmes de conservation et ainsi de suite. Il n'y avait pas aussi une salle assez significative.
The authorities noticed problems with conservation. There also wasn't a room large enough to show the extent of the richness of the collection held by the National Museums Institute. That's when the museum project began.
C'est alors qu'a commencé vraiment le projet pour qu'il y ait un musée.
The museum was built with the help of South Korea, and it was inspired by the National Museum in Seoul. This €21 million building not only supports the country's venture into tourism, it also adds weight to Congolese wishes for the return of cultural artifacts held in Belgium, its former colonizer.
We come from Germany. We are here to follow in the footsteps of our father, who is Congolese and from the DRC. We said, why not start directly in the museum? Before tomorrow, when we meet the family to get a broader view of the Congo.
President Tshisekedi will preside over the museum's official opening ceremony in November.
And finally, for the 4th time, Senegal's capital hosts the Dakar Digital Show, a meeting point for key digital players across Africa.
The Dakar Digital Show has become a key event in the telecommunications sector within the digital ecosystem. What is it going to change? It will enable all participants to network, to learn from one another, and share knowledge. Also, eventually, it will allow them to do business together, which is the main purpose of all companies.
De faire du business, qui est la raison d'être des entreprises.
That's all from us at Africa Weekly. Until next week.